I'll be going over in today's video, starting out with well-known secrets, but by the end of the video, I'll be going over secrets that only the top 10% of players know exist. Secret 2, if you actually come onto Consulate and go to the bottom of Visa Stairs, you can find a soda machine right here. If you melee any one of these soda machine buttons like this, soda will actually come out of it. Not only will soda come out of it, but if you look on the actual label, right there, it says Montane Dew, instead of Mountain Dew, obviously. Which I just thought was super funny. For the third secret, if you ever played the Rainbow is Magic event,
It's not that funny, little bro.
Looked around the actual map, you would see that you're actually inside of the map house while doing this event, which is pretty cool. Something that's even cooler though is if you go up to pretty much any money in the entire game, at least most of it, if you look closely, it actually has Mute's face on it, which is who I'm playing right now. For this specific example, I'm in the basement of bank, but if you go to anywhere with money in the entire game, I'm fairly certain every single dollar bill in this game has Mute's face on it. I'm not sure though, so don't quote me on that. A secret you could definitely quote me on though is if you go to the well right here in Villa and you shoot it or explode it or do any damage to the well at all, it actually will scream.
Now that's creepy.
Someone please let him out of here, he's gonna starve.
Yeah, that's
Never mind, I guess there's a reason he's in there. Something else that was intentionally placed where it was this Assassin's Creed logo that's in Samurai on Skyscraper. It's on the belt of this Samurai here, and then it's also on the belt of this Samurai as well. Cool little Easter egg. An even cooler secret though is this one when you spawn next to this big tank on border. If you run down to this double door, what you might not have noticed is this is actually a silhouette of Ash right here. And then if you go to the left, there's a silhouette of Smoke as well, which I thought is
How did I not
cool.
know that?
Now you might have known about that secret, but you might not know that every single radio in the entire game has the exact same channel number, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, with Rainbow Six logo on the actual radio. Every single one, no matter what map you go to or what site you go to, they look the exact same even though they play different sounds. Another Easter egg that plays a sound is when you're on Favela and you go to this goal and you kick the soccer ball in the goal like this. Let's see if I can get in here. Oh, nope. It's walking away from me. Go in. Go in. It plays a sound. Just like that. For the 10th secret in Rainbow Six Siege, if you go to the basement of Stadium Bravo, you might not know that it actually gives you a map layout of the map on the whiteboard. This might actually be pretty helpful to you in your games. Something a lot less useful but still cool though is if you go on the map of Theme Park and you go into the main entrance spawn and come all the way to the right, you can see that there's two little face cutouts that you can go into for screenshots, I guess. This one for standing and this one for crouching. It's pretty cool, I guess, but it's not really that useful. But you might not have known that the map Oregon was actually inspired by a real terrorist event in Waco, Texas. It's one of the very few things in this game that's actually based off of real life, which I think is pretty cool, but we'll come back to some of those later. For now, let's go to Skyscraper. If you spawn Helipad and you come all the way up this staircase here and take a right, you can actually find a bell. If you smack the bell, it makes a noise.
That's just annoying.
It makes a lot of noise too if you shoot it. Which I think is pretty funny. Something a bit more hidden though is the fact that if you spawn in...
It's not that funny, bruh. It's really not that funny.
Assassin's Creed logo right there that spews out water. And this isn't the only Assassin's Creed related thing on this map, so stick to the end to find out what I'm talking about. Now you might have known about that one, but I guarantee you don't know that the yacht outside of the map Coastline is actually an exact replica of the map Yacht. It's amazing to see if Ubisoft actually has dedication what they put their mind to. Just like this next Easter egg in the map of Theme Park. If you play on Theme Park and you come down into Lower Arcade, you can find this arcade machine. Once upon a time, there was a player named Boston Bear Jew, who was playing since the beginning of Siege's creation, who unfortunately died. His friend asked Ubisoft if there was any way that they could immortalize him and put him in his favorite game, and this was their way of doing so. They put his tag, his level, his time played, the amount of matches he played, and they put his peak rank as well.
He was gold, though.
Well,
nah, chill out,
now if you move onto the map of House and you enter into one of the kids' bedrooms, you can actually find an exact replica of House when you're in House, which is pretty cool. But now it's time to move on to the decently known secrets. Some of you may know what these are, but a lot of players won't. The first of which being that if you go into the Frost Operator profile and you go to Appearance, select Headgear, and you look at the default headgear,
I knew this one
she
wrong.
actually has an Under Armour logo on her beanie. Is it a sponsor? Nobody knows. That's just the logo on her beanie. No one knows why. It appears on some of her other skins too, if you look on the Vancity Winter headgear, as well as the Velvet Shell headgear, and many more headgears that I don't own as well. It just appears on a lot of her headgears, which is so crazy to me because it's just hiding in plain sight. Another secret that's hiding seemingly in plain sight is if you go into the living room and library site on Villa, you can actually see a painting of Abraham Lincoln in the site right here. I don't know how I didn't notice this before, but there it is. Oh, and by the way, Villa, out of all the maps in Siege, has probably the most amount of Easter eggs, so make sure you stick to the end because there's some that you probably don't know. But for now, let's move on to the map of Border, because there's one more Easter egg here that I want to show you. If you're an attacker and you get on your drone and you throw your drone on the top of this vent right here, and you go all the way down and look down at the actual vent, you can see a portrait of what looks to be smoke, thermite, and ash right on top of the vent. Now that one you can actually see for free, but these next two hidden items in Siege you have to actually pay money in order to see. The first up being the Rook Elite Skin hidden message. If you have the Rook Elite Skin equipped and you place down the Rook armor, on the note card when you open up his armor it says Rook Mine, which is a callback to a very funny message that somebody sent to another player when they team killed him for playing Rook. Not only does Rook's Elite Skin have a funny message in it, but so does Fuse's Elite Skin. If you're ever reloading the LMG when using Fuse's Elite Skin, on the underside of the chamber you can see writing that says Fuse the Hostage, which is a funny callback to the fact that a lot of Fuse players when playing the hostage game mode will just fuse the hostage. Now, if you paid money, you might actually know about those hidden Easter eggs. But I guarantee you have not seen this next hidden secret, which you have to be on the first floor of Tower to see. First of all, if you go into this room and you get on top of the table, destroy this cigar case right here. I don't know if that's actually a cigar case or just like a chest, but you get the idea. Just destroy this wooden box. Then what you're going to do is throw a drone down here. Now, inside of here, you find books and what looks to be something holding a power supply and a little lamp. And that's about it. You might be thinking that this here is an Easter egg, but there's actually more to it. Because if you get back on top of the table and you throw a grenade actually inside of the case, just like that, and it explodes, you can then put your drone back in there, drive your drone in there, and now the books have seemingly disappeared. But there's a drone hole right here that you can actually drive into. When you drive your drone, just like this, all the way through this vent, you'll end up on the other side where there's a graphic for the original Siege graphic when you would load up the game. And if you actually take a look, it's being projected from this light behind this little cardboard cutout of the actual thing with an R6 logo right there, which is pretty cool. And if you also look, there's a smoke chibi on the shelf here. If you're wondering what part of the map this is actually on the map, all you have to do is come to this staircase and it's behind this door that you can't unfortunately open. I mean, either way though, this has definitely got to be one of my favorite Easter eggs in the entire game. An Easter egg that's just as cool is if you go onto Fortress and you go to the roof of Fortress like this, look onto the highest point of the map and you can see Tachanka on his old Tachanka turret on top of this wind dial, which I think is super funny. Like I said, there is a lot of different Tachanka Easter eggs in this game, that being one of them, and another one being that if you go into Villa inside of Art Room and you melee this sort of brick looking thing to make statues, you actually get a Tachanka statue in the middle of it, and that man is absolutely ripped. He's even got on the exact same fit that can be seen in the first Easter egg that I went over in today's video. That's enough about Tachanka though, because I have an even funnier Easter egg. In Penthouse of Coastline, right here, you can actually find condoms on the table next to...
Check out how this app helped me buy whatever I want in my favorite game. Unlimited money makes it so you can get what you want from the game.
To the bed, so that's great. Alright, on a serious note though, let's go back to Skyscraper, and if you go into Office and look on the bookshelf, you can actually see real Rainbow Six titles on the bookshelf, which I think is pretty cool. This isn't the only actual thing hidden on a bookshelf in Skyscraper though, because if you come into Karaoke, you can see Rainbow Six cartridges for a gaming console. As you can see, Rainbow Six Siege, The Division, Assassin's Creed, you get the idea. There's just a lot of cool game cartridges here. Also in Office on Skyscraper, if you look on the bookshelf, you can find an IQ and an Ash Chibi Charm that are on top of the shelf when you're playing in Office. I've played this site so many times, and I'm just now seeing this for the first time. I don't know how that happens, but a lot of these Easter eggs are hidden, especially the last few hardly known Easter eggs in the later part of this video that I guarantee you've never even seen before. For now though, let's go back to Fortress where we're gonna go into medical. Now, if you look at this mirror right here, it might just seem like a mirror. But if you melee it on further review, you can see that it's actually an eye test, but it's not a normal eye test. As you can see, it says aim further heads. It's telling you to aim head level, which is a tip I give all the time on this channel, let alone actually in-game. Not only is this a pretty cool shout out to the game, an even better in-game shout out though is the Bartlett University
I aim for the feet.
diplomas that you can see plastered all throughout Bank. If you didn't know, Bartlett University used to actually be a map in-game that they've since taken out, so it's cool to see a map like Bank shouting it out even though it's not in the game anymore. Not only does Ubisoft shout out their own game, but they shout out other Ubisoft titles as well. Just like this Far Cry 3 arcade machine in the bottom of Arcade on Theme Park. An even cooler Easter egg that you can find on the map of Outback, if you spawn fuel pumps and you look directly behind you, you can see on this trail actual dirt bike riders, next to the sign Trials Fusion, which is a game about riding dirt bikes. I thought that was pretty cool. You can also see the van that Gridlock was seen using in her cinematic as well, so it's definitely one of the more in-depth Easter eggs in the game. Now I know that Ubisoft giving themselves shoutouts is nothing new in this video, and arguably the biggest one they could give themselves is this license plate right here. What does this mean? Well, it says R6 82 mil, which is them flexing the fact that they have 82 million players worldwide playing their game.
Damn!
Kind of a crazy flex, I know.
Mr.
But now
Beast
let's
got
move
more.
on to some of the most unknown secrets in Rainbow Six Siege that less than 10% of the community knows about. And I guarantee you might not even know some of these secrets. To show you the first one, let's go back to fuel pumps on Outback.
Okay.
Now, instead of looking that way, let's take a left and look this way. Behind this default camera, there's a log. And at first, nothing suspicious seems anything wrong about this log. But if you end up shooting it, in the base of it right here, you can actually see rabbits, which...
That's rabbits! How do you spell it? Yo, it's them! What the hell? That's crazy.
It's pretty cool. A secret that's even harder to find though is actually an admin on Consulate. If you come over to this toaster, it might seem like any normal toaster, but if you melee it, you can actually see that on the pieces of toast, it has Capitau's logo, and thus it's been dubbed the Capitos.
The worst operator
It's
in
a
this
pretty
possible
cool
game.
thing that most people don't find out because you have to melee this in the first place to be able to even see the secret at all. For the next secret, I'll be bringing you back to Villa, which I know, like I said earlier, has a lot of hidden secrets on it. In order to see it, you need to go onto the roof. No, not this roof, but this roof, all the way up there. And to be able to see this Easter egg, you need to have a good scope, because you have to zoom all the way out to a building that looks like it's about a quarter mile away, and on the roof of that building, you can actually see the Assassin's Creed character on the top of the church. It's really, really hard to spot, which is why it's one of the least known secrets
how would you
in this
find
game.
that?
An even lesser known secret that's on this map as well has to do with this hay bale at the bottom of the map, but in order to actually interact with it, you need to be in this exact spot that I showed you for the last secret. All it is if you actually shoot the hay bale like this, you'll hear an eagle screech, which is an homage to, in the Assassin's Creed game, when you would actually dive into a hay bale and you'd hear the exact same.
Oh my god, bro.
Same noise, as you can see. There it is.
Cool, though.
I don't know if it's an eagle or a falcon, by the way. It's it's one of the two. Don't quote me on that, but as you can hear,
Bro, skip to the next one.
it's a loud-ass bird, and that's all you gotta know. Now that's enough about Villa. Let's move on to a different map, which is House. Now, if you come into the music room of House, the secret is actually in the carpet. Now, what could possibly be so secret about it? Well, what's secret about it is that this carpet is actually the same carpet used in the hotel from the movie The Shining. Not only does Rainbow Six Siege reference movies outside of the game, but they also reference other games. If you look at this fireplace right here inside of Fortress, it just looks like any normal old fireplace, right? But you'd actually be wrong, because if you get on your drone and you go through this drone hole right here, it's not just any drone hole. When you look up, you can actually see there's a little space provided where you can go inside of the fireplace, which then you can see a sword inside of the fireplace that isn't visible from the other side, even though your drone is, which I think is awesome. Now, I promise you, this is the last secret thing on Villa, but if you spawn in the road spawn and you come to these two blue tanks here, you can faintly hear a cat meowing. Just listen. Oh, there it is. Took it long enough. You have to sit and wait for it. It actually takes a little bit. There it is again, right there. Dang, you really gotta sit and wait for it. You can't like shoot it or anything. Man, somebody get that cat out of there. That's animal abuse. Now, we keep talking about how they'll homage to different games inside of Siege. Well, if you come into Plane, you can actually see in multiple places there's a Miller's Rail sticker all over this map, and that actually alludes to a bar in the game of Watch Dogs, which isn't actually the only time that they mention Watch Dogs. Because if you come onto Clubhouse and you go into the stock room, Watch Dogs
I've
is
never
actually
played Watch
mentioned
Dogs.
again. If you look at any number of these jerseys, you can clear as day see a sticker that says Watch Dogs.
Yeah, but they own.
Moving on to Cafe though.
Dogs, right?
Moving on to Cafe though. There's a really cool Easter egg on this news
the piss
board
on
right
me.
here. There's a really cool Easter egg on this news board right here, where you can actually see that there's a few times that Siege in real life was in the news, and those news pieces are actually in the game. So it's a way that they put realism in the actual video game. This was a real news article in real life.
Yeah, we gotta
So
make-
was this, so was this, so was that. And there was a bunch more on this news board, and as well as a news board on Cafe in the River Dock spawn as well. But let's move back to Fortress for the final Easter egg on this map, where if you go to this cake, you can clearly see that it's celebrating Ubisoft's 20th birthday as a company, which is actually kind of funny.
Why'd he
Something
break
even funnier,
it?
though, was on the map of Canal. If you spawn into
That's
construction
crazy,
spawn and go over to this submarine right here, when you shoot an explosive onto the submarine, you can actually clearly hear people screaming and asking what the hell's going on outside. He just said, "Get me out of here." Let me try it again. He didn't say anything that time. Let me try a stun. You hear that? Just a pretty cool thing that I found on Canal. Now for the final Easter egg on House.
I think I knew
this
that
is
one. I
of
don't know.
arguably the most hidden Easter
I have
eggs
a
in
weird
this
feeling I do know
entire
that one.
game, and that is if you go to the fridge in kitchen, you can clearly see a picture of Aiden Pierce, which is a character from Watch Dogs, on this poster right here, which is, you know, kind of cool, I guess. But if I didn't play Watch Dogs or know what any of the characters were, or what their backstories were, or what they looked like, I would have never found this. Another Easter egg
I mean,
that
that
I
could literally
guarantee
be
you
anyone,
you've
to be
never
honest.
found is if you go into Hereford Base and you go to this plane right here.
Don't get
in
me wrong.
Spawn, you can see on this plaque clearly that Jaeger actually helped make this plane, which lore-wise actually kind of makes sense, as Jaeger is an engineer. Something else that does make sense is if you go into the actual security room of Coastline and you look at these cameras right here, it will actually show you the camera footage from Coastline and what it looks like, which is awesome. And yes, this is still true even if you destroy some default cameras. Now for the final and most hidden Easter egg in all of Rainbow Six Siege, you actually have to come into Fortress. To find this Easter egg, look at this piano right here. Then use an explosive to explode the backboard of the piano, just like that. And from here, if you move around the debris just a little bit, let me try throwing another impact at it. Oh my god, I can't move this debris at all. There we go, now it's moved. But as you can see, there's actually a photo portrait here, minus the bullet holes that I accidentally put in.
I would say
of
that one
Pulse,
with
Hibana, and what
with a
appears
bookshelf
to be
under
Thermite, I think. But
box.
that's a pretty cool in-game Easter egg, and that's actually it for today's video. My name's Alka, check out this next
26 tips. But yeah. The box one was the coolest.